happening, Magnus sites? You know, when the original trailer came out, after I did my reaction, which is now public, after me being able to get the copyright claim removed, people were saying, yo, what if Miles shows up? That might be the biggest thing. Like, when Tom tweeted, you know, or whatever he posted, talking about you have no idea, that could be it. We'll see.
What's going on, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and MCU and multiverse. And I'm not sure if I told you all yet, but I am pretty excited for Spider-Man No Way Home, I guess. I didn't cry during the trailer or anything.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that basically confirms freaking everything, everything. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
But really, are you even human if you didn't feel something during that trailer? I think everybody is just super excited for this movie now. I don't think the hype is going to stop until we actually get the movie, and then probably for some time after that as well. And even if the other two Spider-Man, Tobey and Andrew, don't actually appear, but they will, fans would still be excited just at the fact that the Green Goblin's returning, Doc Ock is returning, Electro, Sandman, Lizard. Yeah. It's all just completely insane on its own. Then you add the other two Spider-Man in it, and it's just bonkers. But today, I want to talk about a little rumor that could just take it over the top, and I do stress
something like
that
this
right now,
seems like it needs to be 3 hours.
It's not confirmed by anybody. But the rumor is that Miles Morales could possibly show up in Spider-Man No Way Home. And if we take a look at some things that have already happened within the MCU, it actually makes a ton of sense, and there's actually a bunch of different ways that they could introduce Miles in Spider-Man No Way Home. So I'm going to break down this rumor, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it after, because I do have some thoughts. And of course, if you love Marvel and want to stay up to date with Spider-Man and the MCU, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. So like I said, the rumor is that Miles Morales will show up in Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, this doesn't clarify whether he's just going to be Miles or if he's actually going to be Miles as Spider-Man. This is kind of like the reports that Matt Murdock is going to be in Spider-Man No Way Home, but Daredevil's not, just Matt Murdock, just him as a lawyer. And it could be the same case here. It could just be Miles Morales and not him as Spider-Man. Now, I know there are some people right now that are probably saying, well, that's too many Spider-Men to have in one movie.
Maybe not, it's long enough.
But two things here. One, Into the Spider-Verse did it pretty dang well. And yes, it was an animated film, but I actually think seeing that on screen, seeing all of the different Spider-Men on screen and Spider-Woman would be really cool. And two, Miles is actually the only other Spider-Man that actually exists in the current universe that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is in. The other two Spider-Men have to come from different universes through the multiverse. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me refresh your mind. Remember Aaron Davis, aka the Prowler from Spider-Man Homecoming? Childish Gambino popped up and everybody was super freaking out about it because it was super cool. And then he even said, I have a nephew that lives around here. So the uncle of Miles Morales mentioned his nephew, which has to be Miles Morales. You don't have the Prowler in an actual Spider-Man film for him to mention his nephew, who is not Miles. So, therefore, Miles Morales already exists in the main MCU timeline, the same one that right now our Tom Holland's Peter Parker exists in. So if anything, the other Spider-Men are actually kind of taking his glory and spotlight. But now we actually get more pointing to Miles Morales' appearance with the Spider-Man No Way Home teaser trailer. One eagle-eyed fan in the trailer spotted Feast. Feast is a famous homeless shelter in the Marvel Comics, and it looks like we do see Spider-Man, Peter Parker, running through Feast, this homeless shelter, in the teaser trailer. And ironically enough, in this shot, he is wearing a black suit, which resembles Miles' suit. Just instead of gold, like Peter's wearing, Miles has red. Perhaps if this rumor does end up being a reality, maybe Peter gives his suit to Miles, and Miles could change the gold to red. Now, we have actually seen other leaked photos with Feast trucks in them. Now, why is Feast, this homeless shelter, such a big deal, and how is it related to Miles? Well, for starters, Feast in the comics is where Aunt May works. Feast was created, owned, and operated by Martin Lee, in which he recruited Aunt May to come and work for him. Cool, good for him. But somebody who volunteers there is Miles. Miles Morales is an active volunteer at the homeless shelter, Feast. And if everybody is about to forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man thanks to Doctor Strange's spell, perhaps Peter could get a job at Feast with his Aunt May. And the next thing you know, who is he meeting Miles Morales. So you can see all of the connections of this rumor slash theory. Miles already exists in the MCU. He is there. They showed his uncle mentioned his nephew, which is Miles. Miles volunteers at Feast. Feast has been established. We saw the leaked photos before, and in the trailer we see the sign for Feast. And we see Peter Parker run through Feast without his mask on. And since he's wearing the black suit, it seems like this is probably after Doctor Strange does his spell. So there's a possibility that Peter could meet Miles after Doctor Strange does his spell, to where Miles wouldn't know that he's Spider-Man. That would kind of suck because we want Miles to know that Peter is Spider-Man. However, since we see him running through Feast with his mask off, that's the perfect opportunity, if Miles is around, to see and know that Peter is indeed Spider-Man. And hopefully, if Peter is indeed working or at least volunteering at Feast and Miles is too, hopefully the two of them become buds, and hopefully Peter is mentoring Miles. Because there could be a way in Spider-Man No Way Home for the mantle of Spider-Man in this universe to kind of go over to Miles. There is a possibility that that's what our Peter Parker wants. MJ is a very important person in his life right now, and as we know, Spider-Man at some points just wants to have a normal life. However, with great power comes great responsibility. And side note, if we don't hear that from Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man No Way Home, I mean, just huge missed opportunity. But if Miles does indeed get introduced in No Way Home, that means they are definitely setting him up to have somewhat of a future. If not, that would be another absolute waste to introduce him and not do anything with him, which I really don't think they do.
They can't be that stupid.
So there are a couple of options for him to be set up for the future. One option is that perhaps by the end of this film, everybody still doesn't know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. This could give Peter, like I said, an opportunity to have a normal life. And after having a very big multiversal run-in with other villains from other different universes, perhaps our Peter may want a little bit of a break. And if that is the case, that would make Miles the perfect candidate to take on the mantle. This would also give Peter Parker the opportunity to be somewhat of a mentor to him. Because even if Miles took on the mantle, Peter isn't going to
Peter isn't even fully grown himself as a superhero.
In which I'm sure Peter would gladly step back in. As long as it wasn't revealed that Peter Parker is actually Spider-Man. But I personally don't hope this happens. I hope that Miles becomes a Spider-Man, but besides Peter Parker, next to him. Yes, I know Peter is going off into the college years, which is something we really haven't seen before, but I actually want to see that. I would love to see Peter Parker try to go through college and handle being Spider-Man at the same time. Meanwhile, mentoring another young Spider-Man, Miles. And in a way, I kind of think the Spider-Man franchise needs this. Yes, Sony has their own Spider-Man universe, and yes, they did rename the SPUMC. The Sony
Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man is too goofy right now.
They renamed this. They have apparently changed it now to Sony's
and not settled
Spider-Man
in
universe.
and mature
That's
enough
very specific.
to train somebody else.
Sony has plans to introduce Spider-Man into Venom, Morbius, Spider-Woman, Kraven, whatever they have coming up in the future. But Spider-Man has to remain in the MCU as well, and I don't think these other characters are going to be crossing over into the MCU. And when you have a movie like Spider-Man No Way Home, with all of these villains and other Spider-Men in the movie, you have to figure out a way to make it really exciting still moving forward after the film. Because if I had any concern at all for Spider-Man No Way Home, it's that they're not really going to be able to top this moving forward. Now, Kevin Feige and the people over at Marvel Studios are geniuses.
They can
so
top
I have
it.
no doubt that they can,
They're
but still
genius
there
enough.
is a concern of how. And I think permanently having two Spider-Men in the MCU, Peter Parker and Miles, would be really cool. Peter in his college years and Miles in his high school years. And I really do hope that something like this gets set up. Now, if this rumor does end up being true, I don't think Miles should make his web-slinging debut during this movie. He wouldn't get enough spotlight. That should be the movie after this movie, because I do think that would drive a lot of the hype again. Should he be set up in this movie? Should his character be introduced? Absolutely. I think they really should do that, but I think 3 Spider-Men is enough for now. But don't get me wrong, if they put more in, I'm gonna absolutely freak out and love it the entire time. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Do you think they should introduce Miles as himself or as Spider-Man? Is that too much? Let me know down below. And don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all things relating to Spider-Man. Don't forget to like the video, and for live updates, of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.
Personally, I think that we don't need Miles in this. However, if they did put it this way, We don't need him as Spider-Man in this. Let's be more specific. Because we're already getting all the Sinister Six, supposedly, and all 3 Spider-Men. From all, you know what I mean? Like, they might want to save that for another movie. I could see them introducing us to him, but not him being Spider-Man yet, or something coming in at the end, like the post-credit scene, something like that. I don't know. This movie's shaping up to be wild. So, yeah, thank you, Cosmic Wonder. Go over there and subscribe to him. Tell him Tyrone Magnus sent you. And if you enjoyed my reaction to this, make sure you hit that new thanks button, the like button, subscribe, and share. 10 million subscribers. Woo!